Shannon.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, for letting me participate in this debate. And as my party's health spokesperson, there are many issues that I've been asked to highlight in the short time I'm here on this debate. However, I also need to stress the fact that this continues to have on businesses in my constituency who are struggling. Only this morning in my office, before I left to go to the airport, I had a very upset lady with a viable dog kennel business who had her best year ever last year, but with all that has happened and people unable to holiday, she has no bookings, and yet it's precluded from the rates relief scheme in Northern Ireland. She isn't considered as part of the hospitality sector. I know it's not something the Minister can answer, it's not her responsibility, but I just want to put it on record. I've also spoken up for local papers and was interested to see in today's Times the correlation between a higher turnout in an electoral area that had a thriving local paper and a turnout underlining the importance of the local paper and the need for government to support them and keep them running. We are asking people to go into what has been called lockdown night. We're asking them to give up freedom, their normal lives, and yet as they look around, people are dying, loved ones are dying, but not of Covid-19, of other illnesses. Let me read just an email with, which I believe really touched me and hopefully will help in this debate. This person has said, I've already lost one member of my immediate family in May due to the NHS's reduction of normal service. My elderly next door neighbour has now been diagnosed with spinal cancer, which is not detected for months, leaving him unable to care for his wife with advanced dementia. A work colleague who is in the last weeks of his life yet can only see one member of his family until his final hours. And just today he learned a close friend's father had been given a year to live with cancer that was now diagnosed due to the fear clearly betrayed by the media. It's lovely to see the Honourable Lady for Worsley and Eccles South back in her place and wish her continued health and strength. Some people are resenting lockdown. They have seen too many loved ones slipping through the net, with the response being coronavirus problems. I accept that, indeed. We all accept it was hard to deal with and it was unprecedented. But with a vaccine not on the horizon, we cannot do another 6 months of screenings not taking place, of surgeries being cancelled and people dying when this time last year they would have been living. So again, it's nice to see the Minister in her place as well as always. And can I ask her what can be done to ensure that we can safely screen, test and operate as needed within the next 6 months, as they're going to be a critical time for us all. The Alzheimer's Society have asked me to raise their very valid concern that people with dementia have been disproportionately impacted by the pandemic, and I can vouch for that in my constituency as well. Over a quarter of all coronavirus deaths between March and June were of people with dementia, and we can't ignore that. There's a real concern that with social distancing guidelines which have left people with dementia without social interaction, causing distress and loss of cognitive skills, and the prevention of visits to care homes is having a very detrimental impact on the lives of people with dementia. For dementia, early diagnosis intervention is key, and family contact is so vitally important. Yet another massive concern of mine is that of mental health. In Northern Ireland, we've had mental health legacies of the Troubles, which have been exacerbated with the social distancing regulations, and not simply for the young, but for people of every age and all ages and every class. A new study of the Lancet Psychiatry found a significant number of patients with Covid-19 suffered neurological and psychiatric complications. These conditions range from mood disorders such as mania or depression, psychosis, more complex conditions such as cognitive problems and catatonia. And during the peak of the crisis in April, 30% of adults reported levels of mental distress as compared to 20% 17-19, and also 34% of adults report a high level of anxiety. These things cannot be ignored. The Centre for Mental Health in particular, the economic impact of Covid-19 crisis similar to that of the post-2008 recession, then we could expect 500,000 additional people experiencing mental health problems, with depression being the most common. Again, those figures I believe are frighteningly and worrying. The analysis of Public Health England's latest data on the indirect effects of Covid-19 found that 8.4 million people are now drinking at higher risk, up from just 4.8 million in February. Again, alcohol is an issue as well. We need the funding for the mental health. That's critical, it's needed urgently. We need to consider the long-term effect that every restriction we place on those who struggle daily. I want to put on record my thanks to the NHS staff of all sections and what they did, inspiration to us all, but also showing the best of British. But there's a responsibility in government, I believe, to gain from what they've learnt. I conclude with this comment. Hairdressers have changed their arrangement with no waiting rooms, appointments made by people staying in their cars. And if hairdressers can do it, then can I say that health can do it as well? We must do better, and we need to do it before one more person needlessly dies whose life could have been saved. Thank you.